everyone, and welcome back to another cast, ABH, Making a Difference in Mental Health. I am your host, Danielle Young, with my co-host, Wendy Grier. This is our second series of casts regarding resources and services that serve our community in the areas of mental health. Today, we have a special guest, Dr. Rodell Hall, who is a board member of We, Our, Us Men's Movement, which is an impactful organization geared towards empowering Black males, and that is located in Baltimore City. But before we get into our interview for today, I gotta say hey to my co-host. Hey, Wendy, how you doing?
Hey, Danielle, how are you? Hi, everyone. So happy to be here, and so happy to have our guest today, Dr. Hall, who I know affectionately as JR. Just a little story real quick. JR was my male serviceman for about 13 years, JR?
Yes.
13 years. We got to know each other and talk, and we became friends. And I follow him on social media and was so excited to have him on to talk about the We, Our, Us program. So welcome, JR.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. And I'm just so excited to share the We, Our, Us story. And I'm ready to roll.
Excellent. Love it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got involved in this program.
Okay. Let's go all the way back to my childhood. I grew up in a fatherless home and didn't understand why everybody else had mom and dad at home. And me and my two sisters only had my mom. And so as we matriculated through school and got teased and joked, it was a painful situation for a long time, growing up as a kid in Pasadena. And so I got married in 1986, moving forward. And I just knew that I was going to be the best dad that I could be because I didn't have one. So I told my wife, I said, babe, I only can do the opposite of what my dad did for me. And so I was always there. I always spent time with my children, went to school, went to their athletic games, but most of all, showed them the love that I didn't get, and over time, I really understood why God allowed me to go through so much pain, because there was a higher calling on my life, even during that time, so ended up joining the church and becoming the leader of men's ministry for the last 17 years. And I kept saying, God, why do I go through all of this when I'm a good kid, straight A student, the whole nine? And then I became a leader of men, and not understanding during that time that my scars were for them, because I could talk to them like nobody else could, because I already felt their pain. So when they went through it, I could talk to them right from that place. So you asked me to tell a little bit about myself. I've been married for 36 years to my beautiful wife, Sharon Hall. We have 4 sons, Perry, Bryant, Darius, and Devin. We have 7 grandchildren,
Wow.
DJ, Logan, Presley, Harlem, Marley, and we have one on the way.
Nice.
Her name will be Ailey. Yes. And so we're excited for that. And then I graduated from Philadelphia Bible College and Seminary with a PhD in theology. All of these things were things that they said that I could never be.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in the Black community in the 50s and 60s, if you were a kid born out of wedlock, they kind of shunned you, and coming from your own people, so as I became older and became a leader, the Freddie Gray situation happened.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where all of this was sparked, to really delve into the community, to those communities where all the murders are happening, where they're poverty stricken. Nobody, seems like it's a lost world. Like everybody forgot about that particular part of town,
Right.
And so that's pretty much how I became a community person, because I already felt their pain, even growing up how I grew up.
Okay. So did you find We Are Us, or they found you?
Well, actually, they found me. They told me when they was putting the program together, if you're trying to find men, you have to talk to Elder Hall, which I'm called at my church. And from there, I started getting phone calls from all these strange guys, but not knowing that they had the same story that I had. And so we really became brothers. And during the Freddie Gray situation, Captain Andrew Muhammad from Mosque Number 6 and Dr. Andre Bunley from the mayor's office, which is MOAIM, Mayor's Office of African American Male Engagement, they sat down to the table with a brother named James Green, and they started putting this program together. And they knew something had to happen after all that went on with Freddie Gray and all the other murders across the country, that it was going to take Black men to save Black men. With the same heart and compassion that our young men are dying and fighting for everything that they have. We knew that we survived it, and we're prospering, and we're doing great things. And we knew that if we put boots on the ground, that they would see Black men that were positive, see Black men that were college grads, see Black men that were entrepreneurs, see Black men that pretty much didn't speak their language, but looked just like them, you know. And then come, lo and behold, we come upon several men that had did 37 years in prison, 27 years in prison, 35 years in prison, and they all became a part of We Our Us. And then we started almost 3 years ago. We started walking the streets. And at that time, it was like 20 men. And it's grown to over 1,000 men now. Where we walk the city on Mondays at 6 p.m. in West Baltimore. On Tuesday nights, we have our life coach program, which I'm the director of. And then on Saturdays, at 12 noon, we walk in East Baltimore. And this is continual. Rain, hail, sleet, or snow. It's funny for me to say that as a mailman, right? Rain, hail, sleet, or snow. Drugs doesn't stop. Killings doesn't stop. Rape doesn't stop. Poverty doesn't stop. Hunger doesn't stop. Doesn't matter what kind of weather it is. So we had the attitude that if they're going to be out there, so will we. You know, and it seemed like during those times of bad weather was when a lot of the young men were ready to give up and give in. You know, but just imagine their giving up could have been them committing suicide compared to giving up because we showed up there.
Right.
You know, so our motto is, if you're fed up, then show up.
Nice.
You know, you can't just look at the TV and talk about what's going on and not want to be a part of it. So our discussion all the time is, you either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. You know, and so a lot of people say they're just walking out there, but it's so much more than walking. You know, the people that we engage on a weekly basis from every walk of life. You know, we have some homeless people that are college grads. They just fell on tough times. You know, but if you never had a conversation with them, you would never know that they were college grads or own businesses. You know, so we just had to get to where they are, because they're not coming to City Hall. They're not going to come to the police department. They're not going to come to the church. They're not going to come to the mosque. They're not going to come where everyday people go. They're not coming because they feel like they're less than, you know, and over time, it becomes a lifestyle to the point where it's normalized in their lives because they don't know any better or haven't seen any better. You know, and the next thing you know, we're robbing us, we're stealing from each other, we're breaking in each other's homes, and then we deal drugs to the same people that supposed to be our family and friends. But all we know is that to survive. You know, so We Our Us is all about empowering our young men. And even if they're old men, if they need help, we won't turn them away. You know, and that's pretty much what We Our Us is about, going into those neighborhoods that nobody else will go in. We hear gunshots sometimes. We see young men with guns in their waist, or we'll see drug dealers and gangbangers in the middle of altercation where they're ready to throw down, but we don't flinch. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Dr. Hall, I'm listening to you and I am completely intrigued and pulled in even to your description and testimonial of how, from where you started, from your own story to pouring back into the community. And I'll even also say, just from a personal perspective, this story I've heard before. I don't know if our audience has, or maybe our audience has heard of it, maybe on the news or read it in the newspaper, but you're out there in the community.
Yes.
And you're telling us and giving us a first-hand look of what it is that you have done for your community. Not only have you experienced, but given back to the community. And I just want to reiterate that what I'm hearing today is that the organization, us, has a community-wide effort. And I want to point out the fact that you spoke about different religious organizations and different male-focused empowerment organizations.
That's right.
Men from different walks of life and different paths of life even have expanded this initiative to reach men. And I like your motto. You said, if you're fed up, show up.
That's right.
And so I am completely pulled in and I want to know a little bit more. Now, you've talked about how the organization or how you were pulled in because they came looking for you. But can you tell us specifically what services, and you've kind of touched on it, but if you can go into a little bit more in depth, what specific services does your program provide? And you've already kind of talked about the population that you serve. We know that it's in Baltimore City, and you've already kind of described the population. But what services specifically, because if we happen to have listeners that are in the Baltimore area, Baltimore, Maryland area, what services would you be able to provide for them, for the men?
Well, you're going to be amazed because there's a plethora of opportunities that we have for the Black community. And I even will say if there's somebody from another culture that we encounter, we don't turn them away. We help everybody that's in our path. But our mind focus is specifically Black males or the Black community in a whole. So let's start from the beginning. So we are a connecting piece from the hood to the good, right? So being a connector, we connect them to jobs. If they're high school age, if they're school age, we connect them to getting back in school, or we get them in job training. So that's another opportunity for them. HVAC training, CDLB license training, drone training, automotive training, culinary training, security training. And through this training, they'll be certified and will be placed with a full-time position upon graduation. We have food distribution to those when we encounter somebody in the neighborhood and we find out that they have no food. We service at least 3 days a week food distribution. During the pandemic, because we usually average about 300 to 400 men walking on a particular day, during the pandemic, of course, we couldn't have that many men walking together, but we never stopped serving. So during that time, we served over 250,000 people in Baltimore City. That a lot of your larger organizations in this nation, we fed more people than they did during this time frame, and that was over 2 million pounds of food. We also have the access to drug treatment. If we encounter someone on the street and they said they're ready to do the right thing, we'll get the information. We'll call to the center, and they have beds waiting for us because they know strategically we're on the street Mondays and Saturdays. And so we'll call and let them know we're on the way, and they're already standing at the door waiting for us to drop this person off for drug treatment. So it's not, hold on, we'll come and see you tomorrow. It's right now, right then and there, and we help folk get drug treatment. We also have mental health treatment, where we connect them with the facilities that that's going to help them. And then we move into the life coaching. We life coach young men from the ages of 10 to 30, from middle school all the way up to grown men up to 30 years old. And we even have a couple 40-year-olds that are within our group sessions, because at the end of the day, if they never got taught, somebody's got to teach them.
Right.
You know, and so we turn no one away. We do believe in second chances. We believe in third chances, because the people that we're helping are really who we used to be, you know, and they just fell on tough times and nobody was there to extend their hand to them. So we're an extension of the good that's coming in the hood, you know, and so I'm proud of this group of men. And then we have a trauma team that actually deals with the loss of life and being fatherless, dealing with past failures, and understanding that a lot of the things that we're going through, a lot of the anger, a lot of the pain, a lot of the frustration is because we got trauma layered up and it's never been released, you know. And so we actually just got finished training 25 men in trauma training, where it's just conversation. And we got that training through the Johns Hopkins Hospital with Dr. Phil Leaf. And now, so we're going back to the churches, having sessions with the churches that we're connected to, just to talk about trauma, you know, and to start hitting those triggers. So these young people and old people that have never shared their story can start releasing, you know. And half the battle is I'm hurting and I'm going to hurt you because I'm hurting.
Right. So Dr. Hall, before I pass it back over to Wendy, again, you are hitting on so many things that I can even recall, again, just from personal experience of either doing missions work or community work, but in the Washington, D.C. area.
Okay.
And it's so interesting that you could be in different areas, but the same issues, the same challenges, the same hurt is going on. And one thing that you mentioned, especially for the Black community, Brown community, and even other communities of colors or minority communities, is that a lot of times we do experience trauma, but to address the trauma, especially through mental health, you said you have trauma teams and you have a mental health treatment team.
Yes.
Sometimes it is such a challenge, as you pointed out, even for the old folk, at least for my family, is what happens in this house stays in this house. But what happens is that trauma, those experiences are perpetuated from generation to generation.
Yes.
And so for your organization to open up the doors, it's almost like this behind this red rope or behind a red door of trauma, of challenges, of poverty, of, you said something about drug use and abuse, and I'm wanting to get back into school. I want to get back into job training. I want to change my life around. For your organization to do this, one, it's very necessary, but it is such an amazing thing, even for men. And I think that this opens up the conversation. Your organization definitely opens up the conversation for men to be vulnerable in spaces and places that they may have never been allowed to do so. And to have someone that looks like them, that's been through what they've been through, they can identify. And I think it opens up the door for this particular population. Wendy, please, what are your thoughts? As we're,
so many thoughts. We are us. So many thoughts. We are us. Such a powerful description of the program and the works that you do in the city. You are actually speaking my language and Danielle's language. We are clinicians who came up through social work. So we came up being in the community, seeing where the people are, talking to them in their environment, and we being as Black female clinicians able to use that platform to help our people, that people can overcome and achieve and be something important and productive in the community. The other part that we like is the work that you're doing around trauma. That's what ABH is all about, advanced behavioral health. We deal with all sorts of trauma, from childhood abuse and neglect to loss of parental figures, relatives, all of that. You know, the pandemic showed us a lot as we moved to doing telehealth. And as Danielle had described in the beginning of our conversation, how we saw young teenagers never had any symptoms coming to our clinic with a whole host of symptoms. And one thing that we as a clinic had to also step back and look at is our young kids of color. Their symptoms changed because of everything that was happening with racial tension, George Floyd. Their symptoms were as a result of everything that they were seeing on TV day after day, seeing their people murdered in the street. It was just way too much for them. And so we had to step back as a clinic and really pay attention to those symptoms and how we're servicing our clients. So I'm just absolutely thrilled that you had the opportunity to talk about this program that you're in, this community organization movement, empowering Black men. And I like the fact that you don't turn away anyone, which is absolutely phenomenal and necessary. All the services that you provide in terms of schooling and culinary school and food distribution and all the people that you have around you and in this movement that are volunteering and walking the streets. I have to say, I looked at your social media and there were some days where it was like pouring outside and there you were with your members, your colleagues, talking to the men in the streets, and such bravery to really meet them in their community where there is a level of danger and violence, but that kind of is not the important thing. The important thing is to get your message out and to let people know that there's hope and that you're here and your organization cares about them to help turn it around. So I'm loving this. Danielle?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Honestly, we could talk for a long time, and we don't want to hold you. We have just a few more questions. Dr. Hall, we really want our listeners, our audience, the community to take something positive away from every single interview that we do for this resource series. And for you, when it comes to We Our Us men's movement, what is it that you want our community and our listeners to know about the organization when it comes to the future, when it comes to the mission, when it comes to impacting the community? Can you leave us with some positive, empowering, and encouraging words when it comes to your organization and when it comes to those who may need the services?
Yes. We Our Us is all about connecting, of course, and then we're protectors. So when we come in a neighborhood with 400 men, light and darkness can't dwell in the same place. So crime stops when we come through. And so we would walk through a neighborhood and little kids would come out the house like somebody selling candy or ice cream. And we asked them questions like, why are you out here? Because my grandmother said it's safe when you guys are here. Otherwise, they don't come outside. You know, we're also mediators. We have a Stop the Beef campaign where you can call this number and we'll actually mediate, whether it's a gang, whether somebody owes somebody, a drug dealer, some money, whatever it is, we mediate. And we've saved lives that haven't been told. We've moved them out of state. We've actually paid off their debt. And this is all coming from the men of We Our Us. We just became a 501(c)(3), so we can start writing for grants and donations and all. But everything is, for the last 2.5 years, it's been coming out of our pockets, you know. And all of this food that has come out of our pockets, you know, and donations from some churches, some other organizations, the mosque. But then we even did a peace agreement with gang members where they actually came together. We came together for Martin Luther King's birthday, and we had them sign a peace agreement because they're even tired. At the end of the day, everybody wants to do good, but if they don't know how to do good, then they do the opposite, you know? And so we had at least 100 young men that are in gangs sign that peace agreement saying, I don't want to do this anymore. So from that, we were able to sign them up for jobs, get them employed, help them find housing so they can move out of the hood, so that they can raise their family, and not worry about the bloodshed that's happening while their kids are sitting on the step or as they say in the city, on the stoop. And then we're messengers. We bring positivity to a negative situation. We bring hope to a hopeless situation. We allow them to see what a strong Black man looks like, what a strong father looks like, what a strong husband looks like. And one thing we've learned is that, words are just words, but action will always speak louder than those words. If we could get every Black man across the country, we're not even going to just say Baltimore City, but if we could get every Black man in the country to govern their own communities, be at the bus stop when the kids are going to school, be at the subways when kids are traveling outside of a yellow bus, when they have to do mass transit, be at the school, volunteer to participate at school so that the violence can stop in school, so our children can learn. But it's going to take the man, and this is what we drill in every man that walks with us. We drill this repetitiously every week. It's going to take we, our, us. Not me, myself, and I, but we, our, us. I can't get to California. I can't get to New York. It's like my
brother's keeper. My brother's keeper. Absolutely.
Yes. One of our chants is, I'm here today to lead the way. I can't lead in St. Louis, but there are men in St. Louis that can lead. Mm-hmm. There are men in Miami that can lead. There are men in all parts of this country that can lead. All you got to do is step up to the plate. We fuss on the back end, but imagine what would happen if every Black man in America would just stand up in their community. They don't even have to go outside of their community. Stand up in their apartment building where the kids are playing on needles and glass. Imagine if every Black man would just keep their Black community clean. Imagine how those that own homes, how the value of the property would go up, and we didn't have to ask anybody to do it. But our motto is, it's going to take us.
Right.
Nobody cares about us like that. Government says what they have to say, but they only can do but so much. We have to do it. No ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, my hair is raising up on my hand now because this is passionate for me.
Yes. Dr. Hall, I'm sitting here and you're about to start preaching now.
That's okay. We're listening. We're listening.
You're about to start another hour of a sermon. But what I would like to say before we end, what I just want to say, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for your colleagues. And thank you to those who have reformed and returned the service within the community. And I know that you said that you all wear many different titles, your protectors and your mediators and your messengers. But yes. I think one of the most humblest and most powerful things that you and your colleagues are servants to the community.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to thank you so much, sir, for your service. Thank you for just appearing here today and just giving us so much of the wisdom and the realness and the candidness about what really goes on in the community that many times we don't see on the TV, or we see the aftermath.
Right.
And so we thank you for your work and your dedication. And just thank you for being here today. And so I'm going to turn it over to Wendy for her last thought, and she can also let us know what's coming up on the show. Wendy?
Sure. JR, one last thing. How do people refer to your program? What do they need to do?
You can go to weourusmovement.org, and you can just click right on the notes section, and anything that you need or you want to become a part of We Our Us, you can just put it in the notes section, and that particular director will reach out to you and give you further instruction. It's that easy.
Absolutely.
And if you see us on the street, we actually have a QR code
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have that while we're walking down the street, and so we try to be as easy as possible to be accessible.
That is cool. That is really, really cool. I think my biggest takeaway after listening to you tell us from the heart about your program is I'm hoping others will model it. You're absolutely right that we are us. It takes us to fix this problem. It takes us to be involved and committed. It takes us to want to make the change and implement the change. So I'm hoping audience listeners hear this and share it with friends and family. This podcast airing is so important, and that people get that message that maybe you'll get a call from Chicago and say, hey, Dr. Hall, how do we duplicate your program? How do we start? Where do we start? How do we begin it? Because I think you're absolutely right. If we have Black men that are committed in every city in the country, we could really make a change. We could end the gang wars and the drugs and, having kids be in fatherless homes and being subjected to abuse and neglect and poverty and all those things that we deal with in our practice, just to have a great childhood, a great education, and to, everybody that we work with really just wants the same thing that everybody else wants.
That's right.
It's really that simple. But, we put these labels and these judgments on people, and it's very, very unfortunate if we just can't see how someone got in their predicament and just say, they want what we have, or they want what so-and-so has. Everything should just be fair. So I want to thank you. I'm so happy that I was able to get you on this podcast to share about your program. And it's just been a blessing to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So appreciate it. And coming up next, we were just going to continue our series on resource discussion, part 2, and just be able to share with the community resources. It's just that simple. People need to know where to go for what, who to call for what, how to get support for what. And so that's what Danielle and I are intending to do with our ABH podcast.
All right. Well, Dr. Rodell Hall of We, Our, Us Men's Movement, we thank you again for joining us. This is Danielle Young with my co-host, Wendy Grier. We are making a difference in mental health, always striving to make a difference in mental health. We will see you next time.